Okay, we are here with content creator extraordinaire, acclaimed entrepreneur, New York Times bestselling author, co-founder and CEO of VaynerMedia, and the list goes on. If you don't know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, get with the program, people. GaryVee, thank you so much for joining the Let's Talk Knicks podcast. I got to ask you, how the hell are you?
It's a challenging time. I think, 2020 came in hot and has decided to never let us forget it. I respect 2020. 2020 is like,
Yeah.
Yo, I'm about to do this. She's a beast. I'm doing well. My family's well and healthy, and that's really kind of it. After that, the businesses, have taken some real hits, but you sign up for entrepreneurship and you go through it, and I've been leaning into sports cards, so that's been fun.
Yeah, we've been following.
I've been using that as my escapism and my enjoyment. And sports cards got me through school, and it's a great hobby. And I'm really excited to be here for you guys. I really wanted to do this. I'm hoping you get to this place in your career where you realize that you got some juice, and what do you do with that juice, right? Whether that is money and donate to the right things, but it's a lot easier sometimes to donate money than it is to allocate 30 minutes to somebody when you know that you're going to be a guest on their podcast and that's going to be a leverage point for them. So I'm really excited to be here with you.
Yeah, we're glad you're doing this. This is awesome. And if you recall, last time you and I spoke, we had you do a video for a friend of mine that was getting married. That's this guy.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's me. And now we got a baby on the way too in October.
That's what's up, man. Congratulations, Mazel Mazel. That's amazing stuff. What's good? Amazing.
Yeah, everything is going great. Thanks again. Yeah, for being on here. We appreciate it so much. And more than anything, I mean, we just want to talk some Knicks with you to get this thing going. I mean, let's talk Knicks. That's what it's all about.
In the building.
So I mean, I think the first question we really want to ask is we just want to get a little bit of background of your Knicks fandom, how and when you became a Knicks fan. And I think the bigger question is why are you still a Knicks fan? Yeah. We get asked that all the time.
Yeah. So lots of things here, and it's very, it's ironic that I'm wearing a Jets hat because it's a good it's a good parallel. So I became a Jets fan in 1982. I was 7. I started to learn English. The NBA was in a shitty spot. I actually think the 1982 NBA finals were on tape delay. I remember around 83, we had we finally got cable in 84, but it wasn't cable. It was like Channel 9 would kind of show Sixers, Jazz. I didn't even know the sport. Then they built a basketball court in the development that I lived in. Basketball came a little later for me. I still to this day, it's really interesting, my relationship with basketball. So I didn't play a whole lot. I played some, but I was really not strong and little as a kid. And so even in high school, I shot like this. It took me a while to in college, I kind of formed my basketball life from a playing standpoint. But from a fan standpoint, it was Ewing, right? It was 84. Ewing hit my radar at Georgetown. I'm like, who is this scary man? And why does he play with other children? Because he was such a man amongst boys. And then you kind of, I was 10. So it was all about the lottery. That hit my radar. It was on the news, and then we win it. Whether it was fixed or not, I have no idea, but we won it.
You're playing the frozen envelope.
I hope. Well, listen, actually, we didn't get a title, but listen, I love Patrick Ewing so much. It's really uncomfortable, actually. We got Ewing rookie year, and then I'm pot committed, and his first fucking play is dunking over Moses Malone. Are you fucking kidding me? So, and then Mark Jackson with the throw behind the back and the fucking this, and so 86, 87 really got going. It really got hot. When they came back from down 2-0 against the Celtics and won 3 in a row, that was fucking. That took me to when we won a clinching game at the Garden. That took me to a totally different place, and then it got bazooka crazy the second Riley got here, and it felt like something was happening. My high school years were 90 to 94. I almost literally got an Xavier McDaniel tattoo in high school.
Those are the best years.
Those were the best years. I was also in high school, so I could watch. I was watching fucking 80 games a year partial because I was a huge Rangers fan too. 94 was like a wet dream. I was a senior in high school. I had a car. My dad at that point had a liquor store that was doing enough business that beer distributors would give him tickets. So that was crazy. And then my professional career started, and all my sports fandom really got hurt because the NFL stayed, because on Sundays, 16 times a year, I could manage that when I was working 24/7. But baseball and hockey and basketball got really affected because it was weeknights and I was working till 9 or 10 p.m. So, the Knicks fandom, like when the Ewing trade happened, Vin Baker, I was still very in it.
Oh man.
Obviously when it got good, that, it's funny. I'm a Knicks fan, but I'm embarrassed to say I'm a Knicks fan because the way I think about myself as a Jets fan, I don't miss plays. I know everything about everything. I've not had that experience with the Knicks the last 20 years because of my professional career. 3 years ago, got real serious again because we moved our office to Hudson Yards, only a block from the Garden. And I've worked hard to amass the ability to buy real tickets. So sitting courtside and things of that nature. Plus, my notoriety grew. And so guys started following me and I could start having relationships, like DMing with Porzingis in the prime of Porzingis. It was like amazing. I'm really, my son is getting older and he knows, my son knew what George Gervin's number was the other day when I asked him if he knew who George Gervin was. And he said, San Antonio Spurs superstar number 44. I didn't know Gervin's number.
Yeah. I don't know that either.
So my son's on his way. And I think that, I do have dreams of, 6 years from now, him taking an Uber from school, coming to the office, hanging out with old dad, and then us walking, sitting, I couldn't even get tickets, couldn't afford tickets or sat in the bleach. He's got a little bit of a privileged life, but I think my Knicks fandom is growing, and has grown over the last 3 or 4 years. My basketball fandom has grown over the last 3 or 4 years. 3 years ago, I got seriously into sports cards, and I'm completely focused on basketball cards. So, I would have never known this much about Jaren Jackson,
Sure.
or Tyler Hero. I just wouldn't know this. Cards and video games is why I knew everything. Cards and video games is why my son knows everything. I'm not going to be in video games, but the cards are definitely going to keep me in it. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to be a Knicks fan. I haven't felt the same devastation in the last 25 years as everybody else, though every time they had a little something, like when Shumpert hurts his knee against the Heat, I start crying in Florida because I was there at the time. Not at the game. I was on a family vacation. So, I'm the kind of really good fan who really gets going when they're good, but I hate that fan on the Jet side who's only there when it's good. So I'm a Knicks enthusiast looking to become even a bigger fan, and was a crazy fan from 85 to 98, to 2000. Then my career just got so busy. I lost all
I literally
that's
when the Knicks were at the top too. So
yeah, and there was some in between years, but you're right. That absolutely was easier to be a fan, which I'm embarrassed of. But bringing up, like, just to say where I was with the Knicks until I got really busy professionally, I called my brother's school and asked to speak to him and said it was an emergency to tell him that we traded for Marbury. So I was still really in it, even as we kind of get our way out of the careers. It's just that my life from 2004 till today has gotten really, really crazy. I, started a family. I got busy, real busy, and weekdays became no longer home at 7:38. They became home at 11 p.m., which, as you can imagine, completely eliminates fandom.
Yeah. And I think that, for football, you got games every Sunday, maybe a Monday. It's so much easier to follow. I know Marcus and I are even struggling. 82 games is a lot of games a year to follow. And with the Knicks kind of sucking for most of the last 20 years, it makes it even that more tough. And I think that's why we were asking too, we've heard you on some interviews being pretty positive about the Knicks' future. They're making new moves right now with Leon Rose and everything else. And we're just trying to get more excited about the Knicks.
I was super positive last year. We had, we have a lot of balls to get a top pick. You felt that if you got a top 3 pick, it was going to be really, really good. Obviously, cliche Knicks, Ja and Zion are much further along than RJ, in basketball talk. So you thought, listen, I'm like every other fucking Knicks fan. Yeah, I had Zion and fucking Durant. I was a Kemba over Kyrie guy, so I was in the fucking Zion, Durant, Kemba fucking dream, and that didn't work out.
It's always like we see it coming, and then there's a sigh of just like, ugh, again with the Knicks.
I'll be transparent. I didn't see the Knicks having the offseason they had last year. I didn't see a scenario where we wouldn't get a top star, and it was probably the most down. Last year was the first time you really can you could be practical in saying this isn't going to happen. You really could. The other thing with the NBA that's weird is like people don't let kids develop with judgment. I mean, look what I was in my. So I have a huge Knicks thread, 30 friends. We go at it, same shit everybody does.
Yeah.
And me and my brother AJ were huge Frank supporters all the way through, and you saw Frank take a step last year.
I'm Mr. Frank Ntilikina.
This is your guy. He loves Frank.
Drafted him. I think you can't teach length and defense like that.
I love you for that. I love you for that. Like
and I'm always going to support him. And I hope we don't give up on him too quick.
By the way, that's the end. Kudos to you. You can't teach a new generation's Derek Harper
right
at 19 fucking years old. What the fuck's the matter? Knicks fans want to ship Knox. We don't know what Knox is for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Like I don't like some guys develop later. Like they're fucking children.
Yeah, and that's like we go back and forth on that all the time. That like, yeah, Knox, he comes in, he was the youngest guy in the draft, and it's like, okay, his body looks older than he is, and do you still give him time to figure that out? He still has to figure out how to move on the court properly.
And Kev's face looks older too. He's got, it looks like a 29 to 32-year-old face. It's like that Robert Parrish, Greg Oden shit.
Greg Oden.
Well, Greg Oden looked like he was 63. Greg's a great dude, by the way. I just met him for the first time in an event. What a sweet man. And what a tough thing to probably have to live through, right? Like if you think about being a first pick overall bust, that's a lot of anxiety and you have to work through that. Nonetheless, yeah, I mean, look, when I look at Frank and I look at RJ and I look at Kevin, and I look at Mitchell, like, why not? Again, my lack of NBA knowledge in that 20-year period, but and correct me if I'm wrong, please call me out. But It felt to me that like Tony Parker took a little while to develop. Right? Like I remember those first couple of years. Like I remember the headlines, like maybe you two can do a better job than I can. Like there are several people that year 3 and year 4 was the click moment.
Yeah.
And that's what, I remember thinking back to with KP, and you're like, okay, he was good the first season and a half that he was there, and then you start to see him take that next step in his third year before he got hurt. And that's what a lot of these guys, their rookie contracts are only for three or 4 years, and you expect them to all be all-stars by then, and some guys just don't develop that fast.
I'm super hot on investing in Devin Booker.
Oh, I love Devin Booker.
And people are mad at me in the sports card world. They're like, you're just shilling shit. I'm like, really? He's 23. His fucking data's off the charts. He wants to be famous. Like if there's anybody to bet on that's like got that chance to be a celebrity star player, it's Devin. He's dropped 70 in a game. Do you know how hard that is? Like, let's talk facts now.
Yeah, the Knicks could use some scores too, I would say. And piggybacking off that, I mean, is there anything, in your line of work? I mean, you get to meet some of these athletes. You just talked about getting to meet Greg Oden and some other players. Like, is there something as fans that maybe we don't get to see on the court that you get to see when you meet these players? Like 100%. Some of these, like these intangibles. Like,
are you kidding?
Yeah.
I mean, what a fucking humbling moment for me the last 5 years of all the shit I would talk or think prior to having access to realize. I mean, for example, I own with my brother Vayner Sports. We rep football players. Like I've been unbelievably right about iconic busts in the last 3 NFL drafts because I know who they are as human beings.
I wish we had more of an insight of that. Yeah, it's like it's.
Yeah, so
I mean, it's
interesting.
It's and the other cool. I mean, I heavily recruited Le'Veon Bell and Kevin Durant personally.
You were supposed to be in the room for.
Listen, I just talked to them on text, DM, FaceTime, phone calls for weeks. I mean, it bothered KD. I should publicly apologize how much energy I was putting against that because I wanted him to hear more than breathing. He's a beast. I think KD is a wildly underrated all-time basketball player.
Yeah, because, I would have rather had him than Kyrie, but
I mean, I think I'm very curious to see people like, oh, he's older and come back from the injury. I'm like, his game doesn't need him to jump out the building. That dude can shoot from half court.
Exactly. You know, when you look at some of these guys, yeah, he's 6'11", and they're always worried about, you know, with the knees coming back from any kind of lower extremity injury. But
my other thing is like, did anybody watch the NBA Finals that the two that he was in? Like this whole
he's actually on 1 foot doing all that.
This whole like he needed other guys. He went to Golden State. Like I just want to remind everybody, it's not super complicated. They only won 1 without him.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
The vibes out here are like they won 7.
And like you said, if you watch those games too.
By the way, they only won 1. Oh, by the way, they were down 3-1 to Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
the year prior. Like this narrative. And by the way, I'm obsessed with Draymond as like a competitive force. Like when I see Draymond, I see myself like sheerly willing things to success. Steph is an all-time great human dude, not to mention just a fun basketball player. Like I think Clay's underrated, ironically enough. Like so, but like, did anybody watch those finals? Like, is everyone so sure that they would have been so dominant if KD was at a different team and those teams would have to go up against LeBron? Like, or you know, like I don't.
I mean, I wasn't on like the Stephen A. train saying that it was like, you know, the weakest move in sports to go join them, but I think everyone was looking at it like, you know, they were a 73-win team and beat them. But
I'm unbelievably empathetic to the narrative.
Yeah.
I just also try to remind my friends when we get into it, like, do you understand how good this player is? My big thing for him is, I think he wins another championship or two, and if he wins it as like the alpha, like in Brooklyn, or if he wins it as like 1B or the 2 4 years later in Washington or whatever the fuck he decides to do. Yeah, man, I don't think people like the argument of the injury fascinates me. I think the point with the knee is right, like but his game doesn't require. I mean, it's like Vince Carter turned himself into a shooter and was flying all over the gym. Like this guy is a shooter.
Yeah. I think when he comes back, he'll let everybody know. Oh, right. Kevin Durant. That guy's really good.
By the way, the biggest reason I'm buying Kevin Durant rookie cards like crazy is I think he comes out and he's chippy, right?
Yeah.
Like as a person, he's chippy, which I fucking love. So I think he's going to come out and try to like hurt somebody's feelings. I think KD considers, because some of these guys can do it. I think he considers dropping 60 because he just decided to.
Yeah. And I say it all the time, the Eastern Conference is pretty weak overall. Yep. So I think his life is going to be a lot easier as well, just from the competition standpoint for most of the games at least.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know I'm undereducated to the point of knowing what free agency looks like next year or how it works out with this year or whatever, but like things could change real fast with free agency.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like with you said you're starting to get to know all of these guys and with what you do with Vayner Sports and stuff. So Leon Rose coming in as an agent into the role he's in now as the president, how well do you think he's actually going to do? Like, is it that big of a benefit coming from the agency, from an agent world?
No, I don't think it's a benefit. And I don't know Leon, but I have a lot of friends who really think he's a great dude. So I'm hopeful to meet him at some point. I think it has nothing to do with the agent part. It has to do with his human capability. And so you could be an agent, you could be a coach, you could be a non-agent. I think there's a lot into talent evaluation. I mean, back to Golden State. How did Golden State get there? You draft Draymond, Steph, and Clay. And I think, I don't think it's going to be a free agent game for the Knicks because it surely doesn't look like a destination spot for the top guys right now. It's going to be who's the 6th pick in the draft if that's our bouncy ball, and how do we get, a Steph or a D Wade or, somebody who's, a couple slots down. You don't need the first pick every time, a couple slots down. And so you got to draft well in this league, period, end of story.
Yeah.
And that comes back to you saying, developing and being patient.
Patience.
Because
right.
we've been trying to preach patience for 2 years.
I mean, when I saw somebody talked about underrated players in basketball and I saw Gallinari's name on it, and it just hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and like the way Ariza's career played out. You know, like
It's
what
Reading
if
my mind.
like when you
mind.
think about Ariza and Gallinari in the last 7 years, you know, that would have been a nice foundation. That might have given a superstar the confidence to come.
And now, I mean, now there's even talk of trying to get Gallinari back. He's a free agent now, but you know, because
Story altogether. Like what we're talking about here, and every Knicks fan that's listening that quote unquote has some real knowledge, like, you know, this is the same old game. You know, when we all wanted trades for McDice or fucking Harrington, whatever the fucking trades were, right? Like, you know, like Randolph or whatever the fucking trades were. You know, the question the question I always ask my friends is like, well, here we are, and wouldn't it have been nice to have those assets? Like, you know, patience really matters, and I think New York's in a coma with the Knicks. We're so fucking on tilt that we actually are, as dog shit as it's been. I think if somebody came in here and said, I'm building from youth and I'm not fucking around, and if I pick somebody young that I think is good, and then after 3 years I don't love it, I'm gonna trade it for another fucking first round pick because I'm just gonna keep building youth. I think a lot of people would sign up for that. I would.
And they've been talking about like trying to do that, but a certain somebody always gets in the way, and
listen,
things
you know,
go sideways.
I'm undereducated on where Dolan's influence has been on making Mills and others do shit or not do shit. I really am. I definitely think he's a very interesting character, and I think everything stems from the top. So that's just true life. But I think a lot of times he becomes the villain when GMs have made some really bad calls, and I think GMs have come here to be opportunistic at times. You know, at this point, it's all upside. Any GM for the Knicks in perpetuity until it gets good, it's all upside. It's been so bad for so long that if it fucks up, well, whatever. It wasn't your fault. It was Dolan's. And if it fucking hits, you're a fucking king in the biggest city in the world for the rest of your life. That's my big question. That's where I think, listen, if I was a superstar in the NBA, I would sign with the Knicks, get on the podium and be like, I'm the fucking guy.
I was going to ask you too, like, do you think, you know, they've hired a branding consultant and Steve Stout, and
who's the best? Big shout out to Stout.
Do you think the Knicks can brand themselves better to attract talent, or is it going to have to be a savior that says?
I think the practice facility in Westchester is a problem.
Yep, we've talked about that.
I think that's something they need to think about heavily. I think there's a brand issue. I think the Oakley thing rubbed a lot of people the wrong way that decided to say fuck you to the Knicks. But I still think there's going to be a kid that comes along and realizes the logic of being the man that brings it to New York and what that means in terms of power, money, happiness, fun, fame, interesting stuff, nonprofits, social injustice, everything that kid's about, and coming to New York and fucking doing it. I actually think Booker is a. I
was gonna say.
I do think Booker might be in play. You know, what's he? 2 more years before he's free agent? 3? I'm not sure.
I think it's 3. But
I think he's in play.
But when you get close to the end of those contracts, you know, there's always a move to be made. So I hope we're able to make a big splash.
Like you said, we're developing assets.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you.
I
think the Knicks fans are tired. Like, fuck that. Like, trading Knox and Frank when they're actually now good for Booker to a year early. Like, no, fuck that. Let's fucking wait and fucking just get him to sign with us. We're always in this dog shit position.
See, and that's like the classic Knick move everyone assumes is going to happen. But you look at like when Melo came, if they had just waited 3 more months, you'd have all those guys still, they'd all been developed. They all still really good. And then you bring in the superstar that wanted to be there. And I feel like he was that guy that wanted it, but he didn't have anybody around to do it with him. So
yeah, listen, I'm a humongous Melo fan. You know, it's funny that the two like kind of premier Knick players, and they had very different Knick careers, but it's very clear it's Melo and Patrick, and unbelievably underappreciated by Knick fans. Ewing is a travesty.
I got it on today. Got the Melo t-shirt.
Ewing's relationship with the Knicks fan base is a fucking travesty. I mean, listen, I'm a fucking 44-year-old Knicks fan. That means I love Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley, and fucking Starks. I mean, I fucking love Rolando Blackman. Greg Anthony, like, I'm deep on it. Let there be no confusion. Let there be no confusion. Patrick Ewing didn't sniff a second good player. That good is unfair. In the way we talk, in the way we all talk. And I hate Pippen, but I'll give him that. There is no Pippen during Ewing's run. There's no Shaq and Kobe, really? Like Pau Gasol, and Kobe, show me. Show me. Like, if Patrick Ewing had a sniff of, if Patrick Ewing had Otis Thorpe on his team instead of Charles Oakley, the Knicks would have won that championship. Like, I think it's I give Elijah a lot of credit because he gets that one, and then they brought an older Drexler for the next one and things of that nature. But there's not an awful lot of good. You're going to be very hard pressed to show me an NBA championship when the second best player was somebody worse than Starks and Oakley. Patrick Ewing, people didn't watch. The problem is kids pontificate about shit they didn't watch, or people you don't understand what Ewing meant. Like, a 7-game series against the Bulls in their fucking prime with Gerald Wilkins? People don't understand what Patrick Ewing was doing to Bill Cartwright or to Rick Smits. He was clowning them. People don't understand. Defensively, intangibles. They don't understand. They don't. I'm fucking tired of this bullshit. Patrick Ewing, are you fucking kidding? I'm serious again. There's a reason Reggie Miller didn't get close because he didn't have a number. And by the way, and by the way, Jalen Rose and I'm telling you, we're Knicks fans, so we glamorize Oakley and fucking Starks and Mason. These guys aren't in the universe of the number twos of the people that have won championships over the last 3 decades.
I mean, the one thing I was one little silver lining I took out of watching The Last Dance was kids now watching all that stuff. They're like, wait a minute, the Knicks were actually good in the 90s. They don't seeing them they took the Bulls to 7 games. They beat them in 94.
And by the way, fuck Michael Jordan for that bullshit that the Pacers. He fucking did that on purpose. That's how much he hates the Knicks. Fuck you. It wasn't even close. We took fucking 7-game series. We played those fuckers. Fuck him. Fuck him.
Oh man.
Old Pacers. Fuck the Pacers. Pacers were.
And even through all of it, man, I mean, that's why I think we started the podcast. We're still Knicks fans, and we want to be there when it turns around. I'm not going to jump ship to another team.
What?
And it's
this is the
Jet. I'm waiting for that Jet Super Bowl.
Of course, it's the process. The process is the best.
It's and I think we're talking about it.
For everybody's listening, because I got to go to my next meeting, I apologize. For everybody's listening, you know who sucks? 15-year-old Warrior fans.
Yeah.
They're not real. They're fake. They're soft. We're fucking real. We fucking eat dog shit. It's super easy to put on a Curry jersey when you live in fucking St. Louis. This is real shit. Fuck Warrior fans. All bandwagon. Oh, I follow LeBron. No, you don't. You don't have self-esteem, and you need to fucking associate yourself with a winner. Real Knicks fans are fucking winners out here.
We were there watching Othello Harrington get minutes. I mean, we've been through some.
Othello Harrington put work in that Pacers series that knocked out the Pacers that are always. People have this fantasy land that the Pacers own us. They don't own shit. We own them.
That's the thing. Watching between the Heat and the Pacers, we had the winning records against all of them in the playoffs. It's
I laugh when people talk about it. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I got old and forgot. I'm like, no, we own them. We own them. The Heat needed a fucking PJ fucking Brown bullshit. The Pacers needed fucking Reggie pushing off. I mean, how the fuck they didn't call that? They were way better us in 98. We fucking clowned them. Fuck them. Fuck Reggie. Fuck fucking Alonzo. Fuck you, Tim Hardaway. Senior.
Amen to that.
We were an 8 seed and fucking in that one playoff run alone, we fucking 8 seeded the fucking Heat and beat the fucking Pacers when everybody thought it was going to be a wrap.
I mean, that's music to my ears to hear that. Announce that to the world. Let people remember that the Knicks were owning these teams, and
Pacers had us in 94. We went to fucking Indiana and beat the fuck out of them, came back home and finished it up. Hear about the fucking Pacers. One lucky night. and everybody wants to make Reggie out to be a fucking shit. No, why don't we talk about when Patrick Ewing went game 1 when the Bulls were at their most superpowers and we walked in 92, 93 or 91, 92. I'm trying to remember the year. Walked in game 1 and fucking Ewing hit a 3 from the corner. We fucking beat him in game 1 and everyone's in total shock. Why don't we talk about that? When we took them to 7, they were the ultimate. They were at their ultimate. I think they won their second or third championship there. The second, I think. Like, they were fucking completely unbeatable. We took them to 7 games with Ewing and a bunch of rugrats. A young Mason and Starks from the CBA, Gerald Wilkins. Like,
oh man,
7 fucking games. Let's give Patrick Ewing credit. Fuck.
Yeah. We're with you on the Patrick Ewing support. Even when Oakley was throwing shade on Twitter, Marcus was the first guy out there, I think, responding.
Listen, I love Charles Oakley more than anybody, as much as everybody. I lived through it. I had an Oakley jersey before I had a Ewing jersey. I love Oak. But let there be no confusion, because transparency matters. Charles Oakley's best friend for life has been Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Let their Knicks fans do not get confused. Michael Jordan's full of shit in Last Dance that he fucking thought the Pacers were their toughest rival. There's no data to support that. The Knicks were. And Oakley's entire thing is he's Michael Jordan's best friend. And I love Oakley. I don't want there to be any confusion, but you can't have this current thing go down without knowing that truth.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something we took away from a lot. We've been saying it for a while, like Oak is doing this and taking jabs at Ewing and stuff because he's a little butthurt that he got traded to the Knicks and wasn't on the Bulls, and his best friend is there. And
listen, I'm not saying Ewing's fucking perfect, and Ewing's difficult, and I don't think Oak's wrong or Ewing's right or vice versa. I'm saying just know that Charles Oakley's best friend in the world is Michael Jordan. Just know that. And by the way, what happened to Oak and the way he was treated, and I don't know any of the details. There's no justification to doing that, in that fashion. And it is what it is. But Knicks fans, please don't fucking have the wrong narrative on Patrick Ewing. He was, the day we lost, we lost to Toronto, right? That was his last Knicks game. I was there. It was a playoff game. I think we lost in round 1 to Toronto.
2001, yeah.
Yeah. And so I went to that game. This is back to my Knicks fandom. It was still lingering in a real way. I was at that game. We lost. Series over. Right? Because we lost to Toronto, right? Yeah. And I cried. I'm 26 years old. And I stood there until they kicked me out clapping, saying Patrick Ewing, because in my soul, I knew it was over.
You knew.
I knew. And I'm so glad I did that. It's one of the big, great regret of my life is that I didn't meet Randy the Macho Man Savage when it comes to interests. And the grateful thing I did ever was stay there for 35 minutes, just clapping, saying his name, and I'm so glad I went with my intuition, because I fucking knew it was over. And I'm glad I got to do that for myself. I'm being selfish for him, for me, for what he did. And we underappreciate it. And it's really too bad.
Yeah. And after that, it was like an end of an era for the Knicks too. The last 19 years and counting.
That was the end, bro. That was the end. And there was a blip here a little bit with little Sheed, little Shumpert. Yeah. There was the glimpses. Yeah. But
we know though, as Knicks fans, it's just we want to get back there so bad. That's all we're trying to do, and just patience.
We will. Listen, hopefully we're not the generation like Cub fans that literally went 80 years of their life, died, didn't see it. But I believe, I really, not blindly optimistic, but I'd like to think in the next 50 years before I die, the Knicks will win a championship.
Man, I hope so.
I'm also buying up unlimited amounts of Walt Clyde Frazier and Willis Reed.
Hell yeah.
To make myself
Hell
yeah. All right, I gotta go. I'm super late. Love you guys. Bye.